First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying no to my nephew using my late son's college fund instead? My wife and I, 36 female, 37 male, lost our son Ryan 3 years ago when he was 11. Before he was born, my wife's parents gave us a large sum to start up on his college fund, and we've been putting money on the side for years so that he can use it once he went to college. Unfortunately, he never got the chance, and we haven't touched that money since. It's taken time, but with a lot of therapy, we made peace with our loss. We have even started talking about trying to have another baby next year. My sister and her family came to our house Sunday morning, and we were talking about my nephew Steven now being in his last year of high school. It brought up questions about what his plans were after graduating, and he said college, though he's not sure what he wants to study. When my nephew wasn't around, my sister mentioned they have been worrying about how they'll afford college for him. His GPA is average, and he doesn't do any activities outside of his studies, so they say they don't think he'll have much of a chance with scholarship. He'll have to rely on student loans and financial aid. My sister mentioned Ryan's college fund and how it would be a huge help if Steven got that for himself. We were caught off guard and didn't know what to say. With talks about having a baby, we decided we wouldn't touch that money for now and had to tell her no. We explained we're sure if we want to use that money for future baby expenses or if maybe that will be our child's college fund to use in the future. My sister became upset and felt it wasn't fair we were keeping this money all for a hypothetical child when my nephew is an actual living person who will benefit from it. She said we won't struggle financially with a new child since we both earn a good income and we can always save more money. Which is true, but there's no guarantee we'll always be making the same income with the state of the world, and at least that money's there now. She kept pushing this to the point where it was becoming an argument. What struck a nerve was when my sister said, "It's not like anyone else is using that money right now." I don't know why it bothered me. I suppose it's the way she casually mentioned my son no longer being with us. My wife was growing uncomfortable with the whole thing, so I firmly said no, and that's the end of it. There was tension after, and my sister was in a sour mood until they left. I later received a message from her later on stating how selfish she thinks we are being, and she thought we would help Steven since we claim to love him so much, yet won't help him provide for his future. I didn't want to get into it with her and decided not to respond, but I still keep reading her text. Are we in any way being a-holes here? We do love Steven, and we want him to succeed, but we had already agreed that money would be used for our future child. It's all very conflicting, and hard not to feel guilty over our choices. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If they needed scholarship so much, then she should have been on his butt so he would have merits in order to be a competitive candidate for them. Her plan to fund her son's education is your family's college fund? That's moronic and entitled. But also, there are so many different scholarships that he could apply for. Discover has tons for like $1,000. That would help, that I find it hard to believe he couldn't get any. Not the a-hole. Imagine being this entitled that you feel like you can stake a claim to a dead child's savings account. Do not, I repeat, do not give them any money. Good luck on your future maybe baby, and in the meantime, please enjoy your time with more supportive friends and family. And it was given to them by Opie's wife's parents. I could maybe see it if it had come from Opie's parents that he shares with his sister, but this is so outrageous that, I don't know, it's just pretty outrageous. I mean, you've got everything here. Money, dead child, entitlement. Yuck. Opie, you're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your sister, though? Whoo boy. If there was an Azziest A on Reddit award, she'd win. She knows you're still processing a tremendous loss and thought that this was the perfect time to spring this on you and lay the guilt trip heavy when you didn't immediately cave. F her. You are not the selfish one. She is. Selfish, cold-hearted. Insert adjective that will get me banned from this sub. She told you that you must not love your nephew. Otherwise, you'd give him the money. Well, by that logic, she doesn't love her own child. Otherwise, she would have started saving for his education years ago. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to replenish a college trust for my deceased husband's affair child? I, 52 female, am in an unusual situation and need an outside perspective, but want to maintain my anonymity. 18 years ago, it was revealed at my husband's funeral he had a pregnant mistress, 40 female. Obviously, I didn't just take the woman's word for it and stated that she wouldn't get a cent until there was a DNA test. When it was proven true, I was devastated, but agreed to set up a trust for the child for college and agreed to let them live in one of my rental properties in a good area rent-free until her child was 18. She had to pay for utilities. She agreed, and I made it clear that I wasn't going to do anything else for her or the child. I also made it clear that I wouldn't take on the responsibility of fostering a relationship between our children and that it would be my husband's side of the family's job. Fast forward 12 years and the mistress' child got sick and needed medical treatment. She didn't have enough money for what insurance wouldn't cover and reached out to me for support. I reminded her what our original agreement was and to borrow money from relatives for assistance. She said her credit wasn't good enough for a loan at the time and she didn't have anyone who she could borrow the money from. When I wasn't budging, she got upset and accused me of being a monster for not helping a child in need. I reminded her that I already helped her child by setting up a college trust, but she could use some of that money for the costs if she really needed it. She agreed and her child pulled through. Now that the child is 18 and intending to go to college in the fall of 2021, the mistress reached out to me about the trust and was upset when she found out that the amount was much less than what was originally agreed upon. I reminded her it was less because some of the money was used for the medical bills and that I never said I would put the money back in. I also informed her that I was going to start charging her rent the following year and she would need to pay or move out. I didn't care that she was upset because I was always straightforward about the situation. But now my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are starting to say that it's unfair to the child. I don't see it that way because the mistress had at least 6 more years to figure something out. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Thank you so much for giving out your opinions and advice so far. However, I do see some reoccurring comments and questions, so I wanted to give more info just in case it changes your stance. 1. I am an American, and I live in the United States. 2. My husband and I were in our 30s, and he died in an accident, so there was no will. We were strong middle class but not rich. My husband had a life insurance policy that named me as the primary beneficiary and then our children, a house that wasn't paid off yet, $20,000 worth of his own savings, and 2 cars that was both in our names but also wasn't paid off at the time of his death. His mistress could have sued, but it wouldn't have been much. 3. The rental property that I let her stay in was an inheritance from my side of the family that was solely in my name, so my husband had no legal ownership of at the time of his death. 4. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law don't know the full details, but they know I have enough money to the point where I could pay for the mistress' child to go to a decent 4-year school and not miss it, even during this pandemic. They, on the other hand, can't. Edit 2. Also forgot to mention that because my husband died in an accident, that I got some money for that too. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Blows my mind how much family members love to say it's unfair when they're not willing to lift a finger to help. Every time anyone mentions it to you from now on, you're more related to her than I am. You pay. Literally, just repeat yourself. Expected to pay for the mistress' kids' college. Unbelievable. The mistress had a deal with you where you allowed her to live rent-free in a property for 18 years while she only had to pay for utilities, and agreed to put money in a trust only once, and you didn't give her agreement to replenish it if she, by any chance, need to use that money. She probably got more money than she would have gotten if she had went after his estate at the time of his death. If they're so keen on supporting the affair child through college, they should not expect you to. Also, I guarantee now that she no longer gets free rent. She will probably end up moving, or you have to evict her due to non-payment of rent. Edited post for more info. Also, she lived 18 years rent-free. Seems to me that mother-in-law and father-in-law think that their precious baby boy did nothing wrong and that his widower has to pay for their equally precious baby grandchild to go to college. OP already gave the mistress a lot more than what she deserved. If the mistress wants money, she can take it up with the mother-in-law and father-in-law since they're so effing interested. 18 years free rent and a college fund when OP has 0 obligation to this child? Wow, this woman is generous AF. Because if it were me, I would have never agreed to a DNA test and told her to kick rocks. That's just me though, and I would have told mother-in-law and father-in-law to deal with it if they really want the child to be taken care of. I did a DNA test because I believe everyone has the right to know their genetic history for medical purposes. Not the a-hole. She was hoping for a free ride. No judge would entertain her if she tried anything legal. 18 years of free rent plus college money that she pulled from before and didn't replenish? She could have saved money or fixed her credit after 18 years of no rent. You fulfilled your agreement. You're good. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting financially my sister off when I found out that I was the only sibling paying for her? I have 3 siblings. I am the eldest. My youngest sister is the only one of us who didn't attend college. She got pregnant and dropped out few months into college. I live in another state and see them only a couple of times a year. I am not real close to any of them. My sister fell into deep financial crap after the guy took off, and the baby, B, had a ton of medical issues that she couldn't afford. In the end, she moved in with my parents. Me and the other siblings decided to pitch in some money each month to help the youngest sister. At first, they told me that since I earned the most, I should contribute more. I firmly said that I will contribute what everyone else is going to contribute. They agreed. It's been a year, and recently, my youngest sister reached out to me and said that she needed money urgently because B needed a surgery the next month. I was a little perplexed. B hasn't been to the hospital for the past 2 months, and the money from those 2 months from all of us should have been more than enough to cover the surgery. I kept pointing this out and asked her what happened to the money. She kept saying that money got used up. At this point, I told her that she was going to have to show me some bills, and she broke down, saying that I am the only one who is giving her money, and my parents/my other siblings asked her to keep that a secret from me. They decided that I am the only one who should pay for everything because I earn more and I am child-free, while the others are not. None of my siblings have kids, but they want to prepare for the future while I don't have to, because I am not going to have children. So, for the past year, I am the only one who has been helping. What's worse, every time she needed X amount of money, she would call me and tell me that she needed 3 times money and tell me that my siblings already paid their share. I was so pissed off when she confessed. I immediately hung up on her and refused to talk to any of them after that. This literally happened a few days ago. I haven't sent any money this month or for the surgery. Everyone obviously thinks I am the a-hole. I told my siblings that until they match what I have paid last year, they aren't going to see another cent from me. My siblings told me that they cannot afford that much right now and begged me to continue paying or, at the very least, pay for another year so everyone can figure something else out. I refused to. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. There are resources she could apply for. The entire family except for you are the a-hole. Exactly. She expects her siblings and parents to pay for everything. I get that it's hard having a sick child, but she needs to apply for every benefit she can get. To be fair, she may have. I hear medical bills are crazy in some places, and often benefits don't even get you to the poverty line. Not the a-hole. Clearly, they were running a game on you. That's really quite crappy of your family. I understand the baby has medical issues. Maybe that's part of the issue here, but why wouldn't you pay for a nanny so she could go to work? Your whole family is creating an environment of dependency instead of helping your sister grow. One day, your sister won't have a baby to take care of anymore, and she won't have any work experience either. If you give her another $1, let it be for childcare, and let her figure everything else out on her own. It's not Opie's responsibility to pay for a nanny. Not the a-hole. What the hell is wrong with your entire family? This reminds me very much of this AITA thread from the past summer, where one of the non-paying siblings in a similar family, underperforming child gets bankrolled by better-off sibling who is being deceived by their selfish sibling's level of participation, wanted to go tell her brother to pay up after he cut off the money spout. Opie, you are not the a-hole, and nobody will blame you for putting all these people in low to no contact. They're ticks trying to suck your blood. There's no benefit to you. You'll only be weakened and sickened, and they'll keep sucking until you're used up. Am I the a-hole for shouting at my sister while she's on her deathbed? My 26 female sister Nancy, 39 female, and I have had a strained relationship for as long as I can remember. For a bit of background, Nancy's parents were my late aunt and uncle, who passed away in a car accident when she was 6, and my parents adopted her. Growing up, I realized that she got more love and care than I did, but I just wrote it off because I didn't want to blame her for her trauma or how she handles triggers. When I was a teen, I got tired of her always needing to trump my accomplishments or be the center of attention.
I finished high school when I was 16, and after I received my matric results, my parents planned a big party for me. But the week before, Nancy fell down a flight of stairs, and my party had to be cancelled. As I was sitting in the waiting room with my parents, I had an epiphany and realized that a lot of her accidents coincidentally happened when something big was planned for me. A month before my 21st birthday, which was going to be spent on a cruise, she started having dizzy spells, and a few days before, she fell off the roof as she was trying to patch a few leaks. Rightfully, I was upset, and my parents lashed out at me for being selfish when my sister got injured trying to do something to help them. When I graduated my MBA at 22, she got very sick after eating shellfish, which everyone knows she's deathly allergic to. The day after my partner proposed, she got into an accident while driving on a sunny day with great road conditions, saying that she didn't see a light pole or something. She threw me a surprise engagement party, and guess who accidentally ate prawns and was rushed to the hospital halfway through the party? To avoid any drama at my wedding, my partner and I decided to elope with a few friends, and it was the first time something was all about me, for once. My parents were bitter about not being part of wedding celebrations, so we planned a reception type thing for friends and family on our second anniversary. My dad will walk me down the aisle, and my mom will do the something old thing, etc. They had been buzzing with excitement and looking forward to the wedding. The event is this coming weekend, and guests have already started flying in, as they want to celebrate the whole week and treat it as a reunion of sorts. But like every other big moment of my life, I am writing this post sitting in a hospital waiting room because Nancy apparently had a big psychotic break because her boyfriend dumped her in February. So there is a psychiatrist admitting her for 21 days as he believes she's a danger to herself. And now my parents are trying to talk me into postponing because it would be heartless of me to celebrate while my sister is cuffed to a bed for the next 3 weeks. I had a meltdown of my own and told my sister that if she wanted to go to heaven that desperately, could she not have done it when we were younger so I could be spared from all her drama? And now there's a handful of family members who are calling me a cruel bridezilla for taking my stress out on my sister when she's so unwell. I told all of them that I would be proceeding with the wedding, as a lot of time and money had already gone into it, and they're welcome to mope around the hospital to support my sister. They told me that I was unfair for making them have to choose between a party and my sister, who is on her deathbed. Edited to add, I know she isn't in her deathbed. Any sane person reading this post knows she's not on her deathbed. But to my family, this is a life or death situation, because only God knows what they'll do to her in there. And they're especially incensed by the very limited visitation because they're convinced the psychiatrist is doing it so she can get pumped full of medication, and so the hospital can make money, yada yada yada. Now for the top comments. Your sister is a drama queen, and your parents are her flying monkey attendants. Deathbed? She's on a psychiatric hold which is hardly a deathbed. Please go no contact with these people. Who knows what antics she will pull when you are in labor trying to deliver your first child. Not the a-hole. Oh, I gave birth in March last year, and that time, she fainted in the delivery room, and I got a smack from my dad for allowing her to see something so gruesome when I know she's fragile. Just typing that out made me laugh a bit, because it's just so unfathomable. Your dad blamed you for giving birth and traumatizing your adult sister? OMG. I swear. I had initially asked them not to be at a hospital, but they showed up, and I was honestly too tired to deal with the fallout, so I let them keep me company. When I was pushing, she first started gagging at my nurse, God bless her soul, told her to leave the room. And she fainted outside and all hell broke loose because I apparently did that on purpose. The nurse kicked all of them out and things went smoothly, but my son's birth will forever be tainted by that mess. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my sister to my wedding because she cried rape on my fiancé? This might be long, but I apologize. My sister Ellie has issues. Not sure which issues, as she's never seen a doctor or been diagnosed. But my sister has always had a need to be the center of attention. When she was in middle school, she harmed herself to look like she got jumped at school. Freshman year of high school, she put herself in the hospital for stabbing herself in the arm several times with scissors because my parents grounded her. These are just some of the many psychotic things my sister has done. Well, in junior year, my sister cried on this guy John. We believed her. Then when my dad showed up at John's house and the police were called, my sister admitted she was lying, admitted she had a big crush on John and he rejected her. 7 years later, John and I worked together. We fell in love, and we had our first child 6 months ago, and our wedding is scheduled for December. As our date approached, my sister reached out and told me she still didn't get her invite. I told her I wasn't comfortable having her at my wedding. We don't see her much because of what she did. She said that was unfair and she couldn't miss her sister's wedding. And I said that was perfectly fair, especially since her past with John. She said that wasn't fair of me to hold that over her head since it was so many years ago and that she was family and she deserved to go. I told her that wouldn't be happening and said I was sorry. She then called my mom, who called me, trying to persuade me to let my sister go because it's not her fault she has issues. I refused. My sister then called me hysterically, accusing me of stealing the life she always wanted and saying how sorry she was and begging me to go. I hung up. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but I think you will need security at your wedding to deal with your sister when she shows up. Because the last thing you want is her showing up and causing a scene, which from the sounds of it is something she will do. Let your mother know if she keeps up her BS. She may not have any contact with any future children that you have. Sorry about what has gone on, but you need to stand your ground. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Congrats on your forthcoming wedding. She has only met my daughter once already, which was the only time I've seen her in 6 months. Sounds like you already went low contact. Good on ya. Not the a-hole. Stealing the life she always wanted. Yeah, your sister will cause a scene at your wedding. She'll wear a white dress, she'll object, she'll tell everyone elaborate stories about how the groom is secretly in love with her. She'll give an inappropriate speech. She'll tear off her shirt and dance on the tables. Absolutely perfectly not the a-hole. Not only the lies she told about your fiancé, but God only knows what kind of drama she would cause. Stand firm in your decision. Did your parents never get her proper treatment over the years or what? No, they never did. My sister has never been evaluated. My sister had been in the hospital 5 times throughout high school for harming herself, and the hospital had child services come out. And they tried to persuade my parents to have her evaluated, in which my parents agreed but they never did. Even as an adult, she's acted out aggressively to herself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my partner's family from our wedding? My partner and I recently became engaged. We plan on having about 40 guests, mostly from his side, as I only have one living relative whereas it comes from a large family. I set up a wedding website last night, and on it I gave our registry with a link to our wish list from an online store for inspiration. The wish list had a whole bunch of household items, kettles, toasters, etc., ranging in price with all of them coming in at under $50. The cheapest item on it was a set of ceramic measuring spoons at $15. The most expensive was a porcelain dinner set at $49. When I asked my partner to look through everything on a website, he told me that his extended family members won't be expecting to give us any gifts at our wedding. He said that at most, we might get a bottle of wine from somebody. I don't even drink alcohol, but that we would not get anything from his aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. So doing a registry is a bit much, given nobody's going to look at it. I was absolutely shocked. I think it is the height of bad manners to attend a party, whether it's a wedding or a birthday or whatnot, and not bring a gift of some sort. I cannot imagine going to an event someone has organized for me, eating a 3-course meal they've paid for, dancing to a DJ they've paid for, drinking the drinks they've paid for, and not even bothering to buy them a $15 kettle. I think it's extremely entitled and lacking in any class. I know that if someone came to the wedding and did not give a gift, I would find it deeply disrespectful, and it would sour the whole event for me. So I told him if any of his relatives cannot be bothered to bring a gift to the wedding, then I would rather they not attend at all. I told him I'm not happy paying to entertain someone who can't even show the good manners to offer a token thank you on the day. For me, it's not about the gifts. We already have a perfectly fine toaster, etc. It's about the principle of showing thanks for time, money, effort, etc. spent on giving everyone a good time. My partner thinks I am overreacting and acting like a diva bride, that it is perfectly fine for his relatives to give us nothing on our wedding day, and that I need to stop getting my ideas on what weddings look like from social media. To be clear, his relatives are all local, so there are no associated costs like travel, accommodation, etc. to attending the wedding. They have a spare couple of dollars to buy a measuring jug or whatever. Our wedding, while small, will see all guests receive a free 3-course meal, drinks, disco, and ride home at the end of the night. So, they will all be fully looked after. Am I the a-hole for telling my partner that if his extended family have no intention of giving us a gift at our wedding, then I would rather they don't attend? You're the a-hole. You're not spending that money on them. You're spending it on your wedding. Are you getting married for the gifts or for the man you have chosen to spend the rest of your life with? How do you think it will affect future relationships with his family if you pull this entitled stunt literally right out of the gates of the marriage? You have chosen this to be your hill, and have fear that you will not make it out. Miss Manners and other advice columnists would agree that you're the a-hole. You are celebrating your union, not collecting entrance fee. It may be disappointing should people choose not to give a token gift, but please don't keep score and turn vindictive. Disinviting them sours all relationships moving forward. No one is actively plotting to disrespect you. So put on a happy face in what should be one of the happiest days of your life. Be generous of spirit and let it go. Why don't you just not have a wedding and elope? Don't waste your money for others to have a good time. If they want to celebrate your marriage, then they can hold a party. If not, just celebrate with your fiancé. But then she wouldn't get any gifts at all. But if she really doesn't care about that, like she said in her post, then it shouldn't be an issue. Why would anyone pay for a wedding and catering and a reception place and a DJ and a photographer and a priest and everything and not bring a gift for the newlyweds? There's no way I'd pay for all that stuff to be taken advantage of. I originally wanted to go to a registry with just my partner, our parents and his siblings, nobody else. Then maybe go for a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant. It's my partner who wants us to have a big, by comparison, formal wedding with extended family members and so on. Which, I suppose, is part of why I feel so slighted by them not even bothering to give a thank you card. But you don't care if your fiancé feels slighted by you and inviting all his family based on something that hasn't happened yet? This is clearly important to him, but you're willing to uninvite them because they don't meet your expectations? That would irreparably harm their relationship and would be super selfish. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit during brother-in-law's wedding? Me 32 female, husband 34 male. 2 weeks before our 2018 wedding, brother-in-law got drunk during hubby's stag do. Brother-in-law and two cousins shared group texts with everyone at a party about me, which were extremely offensive, resulting in an argument between husband and brother-in-law. No one ever apologized. In-laws covered for those involved, said I overreacted. It was just British humor. These comments mocked my appearance, non-Brit accent, family and health issues. I basically ignored everyone from that point on, always polite but distant, and made no attempts at friendship. At Christmas, we announced our pregnancy and due date of August. At the same time, brother-in-law/future sister-in-law announced their wedding date and venue for October 2023. The location is 2 hours from our house. A few days later, mother-in-law asks if I had looked at venue online, which I had. The venue caters to kid-free events. I said to mother-in-law that it looks lovely, but I was concerned about kid-free element and distance from our house since weddings are an all-day thing. Mother-in-law says, "Oh, they're not having a kid-free wedding." We got an invitation in the mail. It's kid-free, which is okay with us. With the invitation was a note which read, "At request of mother-in-law/father-in-law, they have reserved a guest room at the venue for us the night of wedding." We politely replied to RSVP saying we wouldn't be attending because we couldn't leave our baby overnight as we have no one we feel comfortable leaving him with. He'll only be 7 weeks. I have no family in the UK. Hubby's family will be at wedding, and hubby said he won't go if baby and I aren't going. Next day, mother-in-law/father-in-law call upset we aren't attending and say I could spend a day in the room during the wedding because it would look bad if hubby's not there. Hubby told them that was ridiculous to expect me to spend a day in a hotel room with my infant. My father-in-law argued that several cousins had small children and were still attending, but we stood firm. 1 week later, father-in-law announces that a cousin's friend has agreed to watch all the family's kids. 6 kids under 4-year-old, plus our 7-year-old in our home during wedding, since it's closest to venue. We politely declined and explained I just had a C-section 8 days ago. I'm also not leaving my then-be 7-week-old overnight with one stranger and a group of 6 kids. We thought that was the end of it, but 3 days ago got a message from one of the cousins asking to call about wedding. I showed it to hubby, and we forgot about it until yesterday. Cousin's wife called wanting to know what items she should bring for her daughter. Turns out, father-in-law and brother-in-law told family that we aren't attending to keep all the cousins' children. I was mad and told her that was not true. I wasn't running an overnight drop-in service for a bunch of people who didn't even like me. But now in-laws are saying my refusal is embarrassing and makes them and brother-in-law look bad. Brother-in-law is called repeatedly. Several group text participants have left messages to chat. My husband and some family is on our side, but others feel like I'm being petty and holding a grudge to ruin brother-in-law's wedding. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but be prepared they will leave their kids at your doorstep the day of. Don't be home. Plan a trip with your baby and husband. Your husband is doing the only thing that he should do, and that's not going to that wedding. Especially since his family keep disrespecting you, his wife. The sheer audacity. This is genius. Overnight at a hotel nearby and put your phones on Do Not Disturb. Make sure you leave 2 days before the wedding or more. They will try to corner you into accepting. Screw them. Just park the cars down the street and close the blinds so they think you are not home. They just expect you to take care of 6 other kids when you have a new baby and have recently had surgery. They didn't even ask. Not the a-hole. That's why I was so mad. Adding to that, 3 of the 6 kids I've never even seen because they live 8 hours away and only met the parents one time, so it feels really awkward. And 6 little kids bringing who knows what germs from daycare, etc. to your home with your 7-week-old baby.
Am I the a-hole for what I said to my sister after she insinuated I should sell a car and give her money? I am 48 years old, married but child-free by choice. It's something my wife and I agreed on early in our relationship. We both have pretty good jobs and are able to afford many expensive items and activities. I attribute this to our jobs, obviously, but also the fact that we are child-free and live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I own a manufacturing plant that was given to me from my father. On that property, I store 4 classic cars that I have bought/restored. I have always been a car guy, and I plan to buy another car in the next year too. I have one sister who is younger than me and never made the best decisions in life. She has a boyfriend who she lives with after getting divorced twice. She's also in her late 40s, and she has 2 kids who already seem smarter than their mom. She makes an okay living, but she's the breadwinner while her boyfriend that she lives with spends most of his time stoned and playing Xbox. He's always looking for a new job or blaming the capitalist system for him not having a job. Her daughter 10 is a very good singer. I don't have an ear for talent, but to me she's very good. My sister has wanted to enroll her in lessons with a private coach but cannot afford it. Sister has asked me to help her out, since she is embarrassed to ask our parents and she also does not speak to the father of her daughter. I declined politely, until she made a comment about my money and cars. Just another must-be-nice comment that I'm all too sick of hearing. Now, here is where I made my a-hole comment. I said, maybe if your boyfriend can put down the dope for all of 10 minutes, he can help you out. And I have 5 cars, I'll buy another 5 before I give you a dime. I said her daughter isn't my responsibility. She's got a mother and a father. If they can't figure it out, it doesn't fall on my shoulders. My sister called my wife and told her how mean I was to her. My wife now wants us to give the money, but I don't want to. Sure, we can afford it, but I'm not my sister's welfare. Last bit, I'm sure some of you will make a comment about how I refer to her daughter, not my niece. Well, they live in another state and have for the entirety of her life. I don't see my sister nor her kids much at all, so I don't really know her kids too well. I send them birthday and Christmas gifts, but I'm not close with them. Edit, this is coming up a lot in comments. My sister could have had a stake in the business, but she didn't want to work there. I worked for my dad all my life and learned a business, but she never did. She knew she wouldn't be getting anything with it, and she was okay with that. I also have given financial support to her before. Now for the top comments. Some people here are missing this piece. I declined politely until she made a comment about my money and cars. Just another must-be-nice comment I'm all too sick of hearing. Bolded is my emphasis. So it's been years of making snide and passive-aggressive comments by the sister. The sister that is too ashamed, or too chicken, or just maybe, has depleted the parents' money train because of her constant begging. Maybe she's made too many snippy comments to the parents too, and they've finally had enough. Now, if she'd been nicer all these years, Opie probably wouldn't hesitate to help out. Opie took on the family business. Opie has made it a continued success. Opie made personal choices that resulted in having a comfortable life. Nobody is obligated to help raise or fund their siblings' children. Sister seems to have a habit of making not-so-smart life choices. That is not Opie's problem. Could Opie have been nicer? Less insulting? Sure. But even the most patient people finally have enough. And that's what this sounds like. Not the a-hole. My brother's ex-wife does this every time my mother gives him something. My mother gave him her old car instead of trading it in when she got a new one, and his ex did the "wow, must be nice" sneer and condescend, and my brother just smirked and said, "It is nice." You were honest about your perspective, and it sounds like your sister needs to get in touch with honesty/reality about herself and others. If she's been expecting other people to take greater care of her and her children than she does, that's unrealistic at best. The articulation may have been frank, but it sounds like she needed, and Opie definitely needed, to have a vivid picture painted. I say not the a-hole. She acts this way because she's one of those nothing is ever my fault people. Next story. Am I the a-hole for removing my daughter's bedroom door because she won't stop slamming it? I, 40 female, have 3 kids. Maggie, 14 female, Levi, 12 male, and Charlie, 10 male. Levi and Charlie share a bedroom, and Maggie has her own room as the oldest and also only girl. Maggie's a great kid. She does her homework, helps with chores without too much complaint, doesn't bug her little brothers too much. The issue is that she will not stop slamming her bedroom door. When she gets up to use the bathroom at night, she slams her bedroom door on her way out and back in. When she gets up in the morning or goes to bed at night, she slams it. Pretty much any time she enters or exits her room, the door gets slammed. And it's only her door, none of the other doors in the house. It shakes the walls and frequently wakes up everyone else in the house. Her brother's room shares a wall with hers, and our bedroom is directly above theirs. We've talked to her about it and asked her very politely to please be more mindful about it because it is disturbing the rest of us. But it's in one ear and out the other. We tried being more forceful about it, saying that if she continues to slam her door, there will start to be consequences. Still, nothing changes. It all came to a head the other night when she got up to use the bathroom and all 4 of us were woken up by the slamming. I have to be up at 5 a.m. for work, and I've had enough of the broken sleep and came downstairs and knocked on her door. She opened it and said, "What?" with such attitude it took a lot of self-control not to start yelling. I told her as calmly as I could that if she slammed that door one more time, she was going to come home and find it gone. She proceeded to yell at me to leave her alone, and then slammed it 5 times as hard as she could. Well, the next day, Friday, she went to school and my husband and I both had a day off, so we took the door off the frame and installed a curtain rod with a nice heavy curtain over the door instead. She came home and freaked the heck out. She said we're being emotionally abusive and taking away her right to privacy. She sulked all weekend and won't talk to us now. My mother says I'm the a-hole because I overreacted, but she doesn't have to deal with the house shaking. I want to add that we completely respect each other's privacy in our house, which is why we hung up a heavy curtain and made sure that we couldn't see through it or around it. We even put little Velcro pieces on the walls and curtain sides so it stays in place. She still has her physical privacy, which she is absolutely entitled to, but can't slam a piece of fabric. We also have never and still don't just go into her room unannounced, and still knock on the wall to ask permission to enter. We've told her we'll happily put her door back on once she agrees to respect the no slamming rule. So am I the a-hole? Added to add. 1. The curtain is an industrial type that blocks sound and light. 2. The curtain is only meant to be a temporary measure. As soon as she agrees to stop slamming and be respectful of the shared space, we will put it right back on. 3. The door isn't broken or malfunctioning in any way, and there is no draft causing it to swing shut. Not the a-hole. Interrupting everyone's sleep is unacceptable. You gave her plenty of opportunities to change the door slamming behavior, and she didn't do it. Let her sulk it out for a set amount of time. Let her know this amount. 1 week, 3 days, whatever you choose, then return the door conditionally for a trial. If she can refrain from slamming it, the door gets taken off again for even more time. Rinse and repeat until she no longer slams. The slamming it a few times in a row was the point where the door had to go. Opie's daughter might not have meant to wake others, but at that point it was teenage spite. My nephew lost his door for slamming it, and when he got it back, he requested padding to help cushion the door. He actually lost the door when he slammed it shut and broke his little brother's foot during an argument. I think that made him feel worse than the actual grounding. My mother would have tanned my hide if I ever slammed a door spitefully, let alone waking up the whole household in the middle of the night. Different times, I know, but kids these days. Not the a-hole. That's what I call checkmate. You're teaching your kid a valuable lesson that actions have consequences. And she's even able to reverse this decision if she agrees to not slam, which for some reason she won't agree to it. P.S. The curtain was a great touch. I think she'll agree once she's done sulking. She's digging her heels right now because she's a 14-year-old carbon copy of me. Once it goes back on though, I won't even mention the situation again, as long as the slamming doesn't start up again. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he and his wife need to look at themselves for the reason her son is struggling? My dad has me, 16 male, and my brother, 11 male, and our mom died 8 years ago. Dad met Chantal 6 years ago, and they got married 2 years ago. Her son is 10, and my brother and I have known Chantal and her son for almost 4 years now. Chantal's son, Kyle, is an only child, has no dad, no extended family, so he latched onto me fiercely when we met. It was frustrating how he'd insert himself into stuff with my brother. He'd invite himself along, he would try to touch me and hold on to me, and my dad and Chantal told me to allow it and hug him when I'd tell them it made me uncomfortable and annoyed me. Eventually, I started to stop him and tell him not to touch me and not to cling to me. Dad and Chantal realized the three of us hadn't bonded the way they wanted us to. For Kyle, so they insisted on leaving me with both him and my brother and having me babysit them while they left the house. This was during the day and night. Dad would also set up times where I had to take them to the park. So I should bring up my brother and I are close, like super close. We lost our mom, all 4 grandparents, and our only uncle, though we have aunts, in the space of like 3 years. Losing them made us closer. I was always an affectionate big brother, my mom used to say, and our relationship is so easy and natural that we hug, or I'll ruffle his hair, or he'll sit on me sometimes if he wants something. None of it is forced, and it just kind of happens. Kyle saw a lot of that during the forced babysitting, the forced park trips, etc. And he never got to hang all over me, or be my shadow like he wanted, and I'm not affectionate with him. And it's caused him a lot of trouble dealing with stuff. Chantal was concerned, and so we went to therapy for that. He admitted to being jealous and that he hates my brother, but he also wants me all to himself. He's still in therapy, but he told Chantal that he's never going to be happy not being my brother. Chantal and Dad blamed it all on me. They said I had a responsibility to Kyle to be a good brother to him, and that it was my job as the oldest to look out for him and make sure I was loving him the same as I love my brother. My dad has brought it up a couple of times on his own as well. At the last time, I told him that he and Chantal should look at themselves because they knew Kyle was seriously clinging with me. And they sent him out with me and my brother knowing we're close and have an affectionate relationship, and did nothing to make sure we'd be okay. He told me I should have put my own feelings aside and done what Kyle needed me to do. And Chantal was like, how dare I blame them? And she called me evil for blaming them when I have destroyed her son. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. And yes, it is your father and stepmother's fault. Kyle should have been told that the two of you are brothers. Plus, you've both suffered the same serious losses in a very short time. That means the two of you have a special bond. Kyle needs to be taught his bond with you will be different because of that. And he cannot force it, otherwise that will only drive you further away. And no one should ever be forced to accept affection and clinginess from someone if it makes them uncomfortable. You have the right to pick and choose who's allowed to touch you. I worry about you, to be blunt. In a few years, you're going to be able to live on your own, and you're going to want to have contact with your brother. I suspect your father and Chantal will forbid your brother from coming to see you, unless Kyle can go too. Perhaps if you could persuade your father and stepmother into family therapy, the perspective of a qualified professional might help you. I worry about the brother too if Kyle has that much animosity against him and wants him out of the picture. Not the a-hole. Harsh truth time. He is not your brother. He's the child of the woman your dad married and nothing else to you. There was nothing wrong with that. Feelings cannot and should not be forced. Them forcing him upon you is a surefire way to ensure that you will never see him as anything other than annoyance. Why do parents and step-parents on here always think they can force relationships? It's so obviously going to breed resentment and tension and backfire every time. Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to cancel our honeymoon despite what happened with my brother-in-law? My husband, male 32, and I, female 24, just got married 3 weeks ago, and we are currently celebrating our honeymoon. The plan was to travel for 2 months for different countries of Europe, Asia, and Africa. We currently are in Spain, and we are supposed to take a plane to Morocco in 2 days. However, my husband wants to cut the trip short and go back to our home now. The thing is, his brother is in a horrible situation. His wife and daughter had a car crash, and they're in the hospital. The kid is fine, but his wife has to be a little longer in the hospital. That's all I know. I told my husband that I understand he wants to support his brother, but he's not a doctor, so he can't do anything to help really. And his brother's wife is fine. She probably only has a broken leg or something, and that's why she needs some more days in the hospital. I told him to just call his brother and ask to talk to his wife, so he can send her his best wishes, and that's all that he can do honestly. His parents and his in-laws are helping with the kids, so there's really nothing they need help in. I told him our honeymoon was important, because it's a time for ourselves to enjoy and spend together. He wasn't having any of it. He called me selfish and then he kicked me out of our bedroom. I had to ask for a new one until he decided to let me in again. He told me that he's leaving tomorrow because he needs to be supportive of his brother, and told me I can continue the trip by myself. But that's not the point of a honeymoon at all. I told him so, and he said that if he would have known how witchy I was, he would have never dated me. Am I really wrong here? Doesn't matter how well your in-laws are doing. The only important thing here is that your husband doesn't feel right staying away from his family in this time of need. Your husband is not having fun with you right now. He is not enjoying your company because his mind is elsewhere and he is worried for his brother. Yes, it is 100% wrong of you to ask him to disregard his own feeling just so he can keep you company for your own little sake. You're the a-hole. I agree, but I find it very weird that according to OP, her husband knows what is wrong and is refusing to tell her. She wants to call the hospital and see, but he also doesn't want that. It would get me thinking what was going on, to be honest. I think not the a-hole or everyone sucks here. Unpopular opinion, but not the a-hole. No one died or is on life support from the sounds of it. No major surgeries and the brother has support. I would not expect my brother to cut his honeymoon short to come home, especially if I had several others helping me out already. If someone had died, was near death, or was severely disabled, it would be different. Yeah, my partner had a severe work accident that resulted in him being hospitalized for over a month. His family was there for us, and my parents. I would have been really confused if any of my siblings have canceled a really big trip to come sit at a hospital with us. A phone call and checking in to see how things were going was fine, not the a-hole. Yes, maybe I'm biased because I'm not close to my family at all, but sounds like they're coping and have a solid support network. It sucks it happened, and it sounds traumatic, but FaceTime is a thing. Also, on the flip side, if I was in a wreck and ended up needing to spend a week or two in the hospital, I would not want my sibling or anyone to cancel their honeymoon/holiday to come see me if it's been established a death is not imminent. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my sister after our niece/her stepdaughter talked badly about her publicly? The title might be confusing, so let me explain. All names are fake, by the way. I have two sisters. Jenna, 38 female, is the oldest, and Kate, 36 female, is the middle. I'm 28 female, the youngest of the girls in our family. Together they had Belle, 16 female, Kai, 14 male, and Soren, 13 male. When the kids were younger, Jenna discovered that Kate and Joe were having an affair. She kicked Joe out and cut off all contact with Kate from that day forward. The kids were all at least somewhat aware of the fact that their dad and Aunt Kate were together too soon for it to not have started when he was married to their mom. It ruined Kate's relationship with the kids. They were close before. Jenna was always glad that the kids sided with her and didn't start treating Kate like a second mom. Kate and Joe eventually got married, and Kate tried to act like she was now just a stepmom to the kids, or more like a second mom. I sided with Jenna and made it clear to Kate that I thought she and Joe were completely in the wrong. Even if they hadn't betrayed Jenna, which they did, they made life so much more complicated for the kids. Of all the kids, Belle is the most vocal and clearly against Kate. She has told Kate that she hates her and has made it her mission to make Kate's life difficult every time she's with her and Joe. She doesn't ignore the fact that her dad is also to blame, but he seems far less interested in healing his relationship with his kids. However, Kate cares a lot, from what I've been told. I don't really see or speak to her anymore, but I'm close with the kids, and other family members occasionally see them together. Anyway, Belle has really been making things hard for Kate, which bothers her. Until recently, Kate thought she could win them over, but then she found out that Belle had publicly shared with friends Their parents, people at school, and people in Kate's life who she works with, that Kate and Joe had an affair and that she and Jen are sisters. People have turned on Kate, which has affected her socially and at work, where she's now being snubbed more often. Kate was hurt and tried to come to me for comfort and advice on what to do about Belle. I told her she should talk to our brothers, 33 male and 30 male, or someone who actually supports her. I explained that I wouldn't be able to give her any good or helpful advice, and that she's just dealing with the consequences of what she did to our sister. She told me I could still be a better sister to her instead of refusing to offer support, and that no matter what, we're still sisters and she did nothing to me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, Kate fooled around and found out that anyone in your family still talks to her is very compassionate and forgiving. Have either Kate or the husband tried to reconcile with the family and apologize for their dastardly behavior? Kate could seek counsel from a therapist or a pastor, or literally anyone outside of the family. To claim that she has done nothing to you so you should support her shows she doesn't understand the severity of her actions nor how it has impacted the entire family. There was never an apology. Joe never cared enough about the consequences to make one. Kate did care a certain amount, but more so I think about the consequences to her than the hurt caused. The fact that she lost the respect and love of the kids was a big thing. But also she lost me, Jenna, and our parents mostly. Our brothers talk to her the most, but even they don't have a close relationship with Kate anymore. When Kate wants you to be a better sister to her because she didn't do anything to hurt you, respond with, "You haven't done anything to hurt me yet. The future is open and you have proven that you can do it." She did do something to hurt Opie. Any compassionate sister/aunt would be hurt having to watch the devastation Kate caused to Jen and her kids. What to do? Don't sleep with married men. Not the a-hole. Especially your sister's husband and the father to your niece and nephews. Not the a-hole. Hilarious of her to ask you to be a better sister after what she did to Jenna. She's reaping the consequences of her own actions. She needs to take her L and live with it. She decided sleeping with her sister's husband was worth losing everything and everyone, so I don't know why she's so confused now. Honestly, I think she believed she would fare better than most affair partners because the kids already loved and had a relationship with her, and it would take away 99% of the consequences that come as a result. I also don't think she expected so many family members to completely turn their back on her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not being friendly with my partner's daughters now that they've warmed up to me? I'm 42 and I'm dating Tim, who's 59 and a widower. He's in banking and I'm a bartender. I know how it might look and his two daughters thought the same thing. But they're wrong. Tim's actually broke, while I have a trust fund. Tim's financial situation stems from his late wife's battle with cancer. She fought it 3 times, and he maxed out 6 credit cards, took out a second mortgage, cashed out his retirement, everything he could to fund her treatment. He wanted her to live long enough to see both their daughters married, and he succeeded in that. His daughters live a 6-hour drive away. For the past 2 years, we've driven to see them for Christmas. Each time, they ignored me, dragged Tim away whenever he tried to include me, and even talked over to me to keep their husbands from making small talk. The first year, Tim confronted them, and they apologized. To him, not to me, saying it was just painful seeing him with someone who wasn't their mom. The next year, they did it again. This year, I told Tim I wasn't going. I made it clear he should absolutely go see his daughters, but I wouldn't be going along. Tim wasn't thrilled with the idea because having me there means we can split driving duties when his back starts bothering him. He also hates flying. Since his old 2010 car is practically falling apart, I leased him a comfortable luxury vehicle. My brother has a dealership. Tim was excited, especially because it meant he'd be able to see his daughters more often without worrying about his back. But when he told them, they blew up, accusing him of spending their mother's money on a fancy house and car to impress some bimbo bartender, and complaining he didn't help with their wedding costs. In the argument that followed, it came out that they assumed there was a life insurance policy payout. They had no idea about the credit card debt, the second mortgage, or that Tim nearly faced foreclosure and bankruptcy until he moved in with me. They also didn't realize that my house, covers our expenses, and that he only contributes to the water bill. He takes excessively long showers and shared groceries. Now the daughters want my number, saying they're sorry I felt lonely at Christmas. They also want to come visit us next year, conveniently in the summer since I live near the beach. I've told Tim I'm absolutely not giving out my number. If they visit to see him, I'll be polite, but we are not going to be friends. If they had talked to me for even 2 seconds before, they would have known the truth. I'm not shy about admitting that the only thing I've ever done to maintain my financial state is not develop a crippling coke addiction like my cousin Danny did. Tim thinks I'm being too unforgiving. He believes they would have warmed up to me eventually, and that knowing now how generous I am with their father just sped things up. I stand firm that I don't care whether it's now or later. They had their chance to not be catty brats based on incorrect assumptions that I was taking advantage of him. Info: did your partner ever do anything to correct these assumptions, or was he keeping up the lie to save face? Yes and no. Yes, because I don't believe Tim had any idea the girls weren't aware that it's my house. I've heard him refer to it as my house to the girls. I also heard him tell them I worked as a bartender for fun, that I don't need to work. No, because Tim is 1, prideful, and 2, protective of them. He shielded them from what was going on behind the scenes, so that they could spend as much time with their dying mother without being worried about him. I know he mentioned some things about the move, helping him when he first told them he was moving in with me, but the argument was the first time he actually laid everything out to them in no uncertain terms about the house and the debt, and cashed out 401k, etc. I'm probably giving him the benefit of the doubt because I love him, but I think he thought they would figure things out without him having to spell it out, and that their coldness to me was solely because I'm not their mom, and they miss her so much. Not the a-hole. You don't owe them a damn thing. That being said, there is kids, and you gotta consider that if you don't extend an olive branch, that means he will be pulled in the middle and eventually push will come to shove. Is that something you're comfortable with? You make a good point, and I don't know. Right now, I'm like, sure, I can go back to doing my own Christmas with my cast of characters. Did that for years before Tim and I got together. But what happens with birthdays? His 60th is coming up. That's a biggie. What happens when the girls have kids and he wants to go there more often? I'd asked him to move in with me so he'd have less stress in life, not more. Don't let them come visit in the summer. They want free accommodations near a beach. That's a privilege that has to be earned after at least 2 to 3 years of treating you right. Let them visit, but don't let them stay in your house. They can get a hotel that they can pay for themselves. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents live with me after they loaned me money to buy my house? About a year ago, I, 29 male, bought my first home. My parents generously offered me $20,000 toward a down payment, which they framed as a gift. I was extremely grateful, as they knew I'd been saving for years and wanted a place to call my own. I even invited them to celebrate with me the day I got the keys, and everything seemed fine. Fast forward to 3 months ago. My dad unexpectedly lost his job, and my mom's part-time work isn't enough to support them. They called me up one day and casually mentioned that they'd be moving in with me until they get back on their feet. I was stunned, as they hadn't asked. They just assumed. When I hesitated, they reminded me of the $20,000 they'd given me for the house, and said it was time I paid them back by helping them out. This was news to me. They'd repeatedly assured me it was a gift, no strings attached, and that they were just happy to help me achieve my dream of home ownership. Now they were calling it a loan, even though there was never any mention of repayment, interest, or expectations of them moving in someday. I was hesitant but willing to talk about it, and I suggested they stay temporarily. They dismissed this and said they'd be moving in indefinitely until things turn around, adding that they'd expect full access to the house, and even suggested taking over my office as their bedroom. They also told me they'd like more say in how I run my home. After all, they helped pay for it. Feeling cornered, I explained that while I love them and would gladly help in other ways, like covering some of their bills temporarily or letting them stay for a set period, I wasn't comfortable with them moving in indefinitely. This is my home, my sanctuary, and I've worked hard for it. They were furious, saying I was ungrateful and that family should support each other. They also claim that since they invested in the house, they're entitled to live in it as long as they need. My dad even hinted he'd take me to court if I didn't pay back their loan, though I am fairly certain he was bluffing. Now, several family members have weighed in, saying I'm the a-hole for turning back on my parents after they helped me buy my house. But I feel like they changed the terms after the fact, and I don't think it's fair to demand indefinite housing when that was never part of the deal. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents move in after they loaned me the down payment? Now for the comments. If I was in your shoes, I would take out a loan for what they gave you and hand the money to them. Tell them you are done and walk away. I've actually been considering that exact option. It's frustrating because they originally insisted the money was a gift. But if paying them back fully will restore boundaries, it might be worth it. I'd have to adjust my budget and take on extra debt. But honestly, that feels like a better solution than constantly having to defend my space or argue over my independence. Thank you. Don't let them move in. Do not let them move in. You will regret it. They will never leave. Think about it. Always there, changing your home until it's theirs. Until you get so fed up you'll want to pack and leave. They gave you the money as a gift, and now they mismanage their finances or reframing it, as in lying that they invested in your home. BS. Don't let them move in. Not the a-hole. Thank you for this. Honestly, your perspective has helped reinforce what I was already feeling deep down. You're right. This is my home, and it's somewhere I worked hard to make my own. I've been nervous that letting them move in would mean losing all sense of control over the space I've built. It's already overwhelming knowing they're insisting on things like taking over my office, and I'm genuinely worried they'd try to change even more. The fact that they're reframing the money as an investment after saying it was a gift has thrown me. It feels manipulative. And while I want to help them in ways that make sense, moving in indefinitely isn't the answer. Thanks for backing me up on this. I needed a reminder that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad son. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister's kid with a family friend after she was hours late picking him up? I, 36 male, agreed to babysit my sister's son, 8 male, last Friday night so she could go to a friend's event. She said she'd be back early Saturday morning, and I was happy to help. I even planned some activities for us before she came by, since I don't often get to spend time with my nephew. Saturday morning rolled around, and by 9 a.m. she hadn't shown up. I texted her, and she replied that she was on her way, so I didn't worry. We had breakfast, hung out, and waited around until about 11 a.m. I texted her again, mentioning that I had plans at 3 p.m., and she replied with, "Be there soon." By 1 p.m., I started getting anxious because I still hadn't heard anything more. I tried calling, but she didn't answer. I left a voicemail reminding her I had plans later in the afternoon and needed her to let me know her estimated time of arrival. By 2:30, I was really stressing. I had been planning to leave by then to get to my friend's party, but she still hadn't shown up or answered her phone. Finally, around 3:30, after calling and texting with no response, I reached out to a family friend who lives in my building. She's known my family for years, and my nephew and sister know her well, so I knew he'd be comfortable and safe. The family friend was happy to help. So I explained the situation and left my nephew with her, giving her my sister's contact info in case anything came up. When my sister finally picked up her son at 5 p.m., she was furious. She accused me of abandoning him, saying I'd had one job and should have waited. I explained that she'd promised to be back in the morning, then ignored my texts and calls. I also told her I'd left him with someone we all trusted. She said I should have sacrificed my plans, even if it meant waiting all day since family comes first. I feel guilty for leaving him, but I was hours late to my own event and frustrated by her lack of communication. Am I the a-hole for not waiting for her to show up and leaving my nephew with a trusted family friend? Not the a-hole. The child's mother wasn't there at the predetermined time. If she was willing to actually get in contact with you and be upfront about the actual arrival time, she could have had a say in where her child will be spending the remainder of the time. Definitely not the a-hole. She should have been more responsible. I'd like to believe this is fake, because it's ridiculous to think anyone would behave like this. But these days, it seems pretty likely. Of course you're not the a-hole, and I guess sis will need to find a new sitter because I would never be willing to help her out again. My niece would do this stupid stuff with her kid. She did it to me once. I called her phone every 5 minutes until she finally came and got her. Nobody would babysit for her because of it. And her daughter was still an infant. That's how quickly she burned her bridges.